Hello, and welcome to Progress Junior Golf with Live Sport Now and the England Golf Young Ambassadors. My name's Steve Jackson, and this is Ian Waterhouse.
Hello, everybody. Hello, Steve. Good to see you again. My fault, everybody. It didn't happen last week. It was my fault. It didn't happen. I was at Goodwood from Wednesday through to Sunday, and then yesterday I was golfing. Well, I wasn't personally golfing, but I was on a trophy tour broadcasting that live. So apologies. This should have gone out last Thursday. It's my fault.
Yeah, it's been a little while, isn't it, since the last time we did a podcast. Back then, Ian, if you remember, England was still in the Euros. They were playing rubbish football, but there was one of the two of us who said, we're going to win this. One of us was still very, very confident. And you weren't far off, were you?
All I can say is in 2 years' time, England are going to win the World Cup. Come on. Can't wait. Cannot wait for England to win the World Cup in 2 years' time. Brilliant. Let's go.
Yes. Of course, back then when we did the last podcast, we had an England manager, of course, as well, which we don't have anymore. But there we go. Obviously, breaking news today that England football manager. Right. Anyway, that's a different sport. We're talking about golf today because this podcast is all about junior golf. It's about the next generation of golfers. It's about getting more boys and girls playing the game of golf. This is show number 61. Quiz question for you then. 61 then. Who are the only players ever to shoot a 61 in a major championship?
I don't know. I'm going to go Tiger Woods for one.
Right.
I don't think that's right, actually.
No, it's not.
I think McIlroy might be one. Is McIlroy one?
No.
Do I have to go further back? Palmer.
No.
Player. Nicholson.
No.
Nicholas.
Not even close.
Els.
No.
I don't know. Vijay Singh.
Okay. Right. For a start, women's golf.
Okay. Charlie Hart.
The Evian Championship, or the Evian Championship. I'll put your imagery for you.
Corda.
The Evian Championships, 3 of them, with 3 61s in ladies golf. South Korea's Kim Hyo-jo and Lee Jung-yun, and Ireland's Leona Maguire, which happened just 3 years ago.
Leona, yes, of course. Yeah.
In men's golf, though, if you remember, just a few weeks ago, the USPGA Championship, Shane Lowry had a putt on the 18th hole, which would have been a 61. He missed it, got a 62, which is the best round of golf in a major tournament as far as men's golf is concerned. But 3 61s there. Anyway.
You see, Steve, but now that the shows are getting up to this level, we can do a quiz next time about a score of 62, can't we?
Yes, and the question will be, who shot a 62 in the USPGA Championship? And you will know the answer, won't you?
I will know the answer, but I'm not going to tell it now.
No, that's it.
That's for 2 weeks' time.
Yes, absolutely. Right, now we mentioned the Evian Championship there, and obviously that's a perfect course to get low scores and a really, really good venue as well. Brilliant clubhouse, practice facilities are fantastic. But that's not always the case with golf clubs, though. Not every golf club or establishment has the ideal practice facilities or facilities in general. And in particular, in order to grow the game of golf with youngsters. So we're going to look at that today. We're going to look at practice facilities, golf facilities at clubs, not just in this country, but overseas as well. We're going to have the help of course designer James Edwards. He's amongst many projects, he's helped redesign the new golfing facility at Effingham Golf Club, which is in Surrey, which is quite close to you. I don't think you've been there, but it is close to you, isn't it, Ian?
It's just Leatherhead Way, and ironically, I've got a very small involvement with Leatherhead Football Club, so I do know the area very well. I just don't know the golf club, believe it or not.
Okay, well, we'll hear from James, who helped us on that. We'll also hear from assistant professional Jack Higgins. He'll explain how much he does the junior coaching at the club. He'll explain how much difference is made as far as he's concerned with coaching the youngsters at the club. Now, I also mentioned as well, we're not going to just look at golf facilities in this country. We're going to look at golf facilities overseas. And I'm delighted to say I was out in Latvia last month. You ever been to Latvia, Ian?
No, I haven't. No. Riga, very nice.
So for those who don't know where Latvia is, it's kind of like the north of Europe in the sense of south of the Scandinavian countries, but north near Estonia. Never been there before, so it was a real eye-opener for me to go over there. I went for a Founder Series event which took place at Jamala Golf Club, and whilst I was there I caught up with club professional Davis Pusks, and he chatted about the Founder Series, about the main course, and they have a par 3 course there as well at Jamala as well. And also he does the junior coaching there. He went out to America as well and did a little bit at college out there as well. So someone who knows a fair bit about junior golf and obviously knows a lot more about Latvian golf than me. So it's fascinating to him. And also kind of touching on my experience as well of going out and playing golf in the Czech Republic as well, because that to me was a little bit of an eye-opener as well, because the Czech Republic you wouldn't expect would be in a venue whereby you'd go for proper, really good practice facilities and facilities at golf venues. Well, I'm going to tell you it's completely different, because it was a bit of an eye-opener for me. Really did surprise me, the quality and what they do over there as well. So we'll touch on that a little bit later on in the podcast as well. Right, first things first though, let's do the junior golf news.
Before we do
that,
can I just remind everybody as well, as ever, this is of course your show, watching at home wherever you are. It's interactive, so please do get in touch with us, because we can see your comments. So we do want to hear from you. We want to hear your opinion on today's topic, which is, of course, junior golf facilities. Number of ways you could do that. Just comment below wherever you're watching this. You're on Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, LinkedIn, wherever. YouTube is the best place, though. That little link up there will take you through to the Live Sport Now YouTube channel, where you can watch this. The live chat is open. If you comment in there, what it does for me is, in this studio that I'm looking at right now, on the right-hand side, it notifies me when a comment comes in. So I don't even have to move, and I know you've commented. So please do get in touch with us, get involved. This is your show. It's all about you. And of course, as ever, once the show's finished and you want to find out more about Progress Junior Golf, what events are going on in junior golf all over the UK, or to get some information, then do visit progressjuniorgolf.com. The website's at the very, very top up there. It's also running across the bottom. But to make your life even easier, I've put a link in the body of this broadcast. Give that a click at the end of the show, and it'll take you straight through to the website. Steve, over to you.
Right, junior golf news then. A lot to cover, because we haven't been doing a podcast for a few weeks now. So at this time of the year, lots of big competitions taking place, not just in this country, overseas as well. So right, let's start in England. Couple of regional qualifiers for boys competitions, team events. One in the North Counties, it was won by Yorkshire. The best individual was Sam Norman. The South East group, I was actually at this event, took place over in Suffolk. It was won by Kent. The individual winner was an Essex golfer called Charlie Rusbridge. And Charlie went into the event with some seriously good form, because we've got a photo of him, because he played in the England Under-18s Championship, and there he is with the trophy, because he won it at Heswall Golf Club. He's from Colne Valley. He shot 67, 73, 66, and then 71 in the final round. But he needed a playoff to win the competition, because he was joint leader with Harris Sewell and Daniel Hayes. Harris, so really well done to him, because he shot 64 in the final round, which was a course record at Heswall as well. But Charlie birdied the second playoff hole, so he won that tournament. So well done to him for winning the Under-18s Championship. It is a junior podcast, but we like to include the Under-21s as well. The English Women's Open Stroke Plate Championship, that took place, and that was won by a 21-year-old Lily Hurst from Huddersfield. And the Midlands Under-21 Girls Closed Amateur Championship, that was won by Ella Mason. Back down to the ones Under-18s, though, the Sir Henry Cooper Junior Masters, boys and girls competitions. Henry Stiles, who actually played in that event I was talking about, the South East competition, he won the boys' prize there. Lila Bissay won for the girls' competition. And Midland Boys Closed Amateur Championship, that was won by Mark Hewlett Jr. And the South West County Boys Championship was won by Brandon Skidmore. Right, Fowler Series, we mentioned a little bit earlier. I went to the event over in Latvia, came back from Latvia, and then pretty much all within a few days, I was down on the south coast at the Isle of Purbeck, and that was a competition which was won by Theo Anderson Gannon. We've got a photo of Theo, which was taken by yours truly there. I think you'll agree. Nice. Wonderful photo. Yes. So he won the overall prize, also the Under-21s as well. Ava Bates won the girls Under-21s. Under-16s was won by Ariana Virik, and the boys under-16s was won by Dominic Harrington. They all qualified now for the grand final, which takes place over in the UAE, I think in November, if memory serves me right. Of course, you've got the invite for Matthew again to go along, haven't you, Ian?
It's not arrived in the post yet, but I'm sure it's coming. Like the last couple of years, I'm sure it's on. It's just got lost. You know, it's this whole takeover of the Royal Mail. It's clearly playing havoc with my invites. So yeah, I don't get invited to anything anymore.
No, I should be there though. So we'll be doing something, I'm sure, on the Progress Junior Golf podcast about that. Right, that's English golf. Let's go to up north of the border then. Scotland then. Scottish Girls Under 16s Open Championship took place at Muckhart. Winner was Lauren Crum, English golfer though. 74, 17, 71. She won by 3 shots. The Scottish Boys Championship though, that was won by, and it's interesting that you see a lot of these Scandinavians coming through, and we've seen it at the professional level now, really top quality golfers, and you can tell that they're developing the game really well in their country. It's won by Norwegian Matthias Ayers. He won by 1 shot from Harriet O'Hara from Ireland. Matthias shot 70, 67, 68. Harry could have forced a playoff if he'd managed to par the last hole or even birdie the last hole, and he would have won by 1 shot. Unfortunately, he bogeyed the last.
Matthias Ayers. Steve, that literally has major winner written all over it, that, doesn't it? It just sounds right. Matthias Ayers, the Open champion. Oh, it just rolls off the tongue, doesn't it? Yeah.
It does, yes. You have to be really careful, though.
Yeah.
Right, staying in Scotland then. The Stephen Gallagher trophies, actually, a few Stephen Gallagher competitions took place. Stephen Gallagher trophies took place at Roxburgh. Boys winner was Kieran Gribble. Girls winner was Rosie Maguire. And the Boys National Match Play Championship, boys, actually, Finley, so the medal was won by Finley Haleswood. The stroke play, which goes through to the medal, was won by Scott Newman. You might remember Scott. I think he appeared on the podcast when we were at the Founders Series up in St Andrews. So obviously maintaining his good form over the last couple of years. Staying in Scotland then, Junior Tour Scotland, a couple of events there. One at Hayston was won, boys by the Jamie Henshaw, girls by Zoe Davidson. Another event in Newmaker, boys was Ethan Main and girls was Ruby Watts. And the Cameron Corbett Vars took place at Hags Castle, was won by James Morgan. Right, let's go over the REC then. I will mention a competition which I'm going to be covering next week is the Champion of Champions tournament, which is over in Ireland. It takes place at Lochern Golf. We're going to be there taking photos. We're hopefully going to be doing a podcast on that because there are players from, I think, 250 players from countries, I think 40 different countries from around the world. So it's going to be really good podcast that we're going to be covering on that. But the Amateur Championship, British Amateur Championship, took place at Ballyliffin Golf Club. And we mentioned about those Scandinavians, another Scandinavian victory on this occasion as well. Denmark's Jakob Skov Olesen. He beat Dominic Clements in the final. So well done to Jakob there. Well, you might remember Dominic, actually, because he, if you remember, won the Scottish Men's Open Championship. How many shots did he win by, Ian? Can you remember?
A lot.
A lot. You're right. 17 shots he won that Scottish Men's Open Championship.
I was right.
Yes, you were nowhere near when you tried to guess on the occasion when we did.
I'm always too conservative. I probably said about 3 or 4, but I should have known.
Yes. Teenager Connor Graham, though, from Scotland, he was actually the best qualifier from the stroke play. So that's the way it sometimes works for these tournaments. Best play from the stroke play goes into the match play, and obviously it can feel like a completely different format. And obviously, and quite often match play is very different from stroke play. He lost in the second round, but obviously Jakob went on to win there. Some regional competitions over in Ireland. The Leinster Under 18s and Girls Amateur Championship. Boys winner was won by Louis Goodman. Girls was Katie Dillon. The Connor Under 16 boys, that was won by Isaac Oliver. Ulster, boys and girls. Stuart Nesbitt won the boys. Kaylee Mulholland won the girls. And the Munster Under 18 Championship, Daniel McKenna won the boys, and the girls was won by Lucy Grattan. Mentioned there about the Champion of Champions. That's run by Michael Gallagher, who's been on the podcast on many occasions previously. He also runs the Irish Junior Open Tour, and he had an event at Holyrood, and that was won by Benjamin Opperholzer. So well done to Benjamin. Right, that's the British Isles. Let's do the events overseas then, the ones, and we're talking about around the world here. The Toyota Junior Golf World Cup took place at Chukho. What a great name this is for a golf club, by the Chukho Golf Club in Japan. The US won it. They won. Well, actually, they shared it. The boys were shared between the United States and Korea. The United States won the girls' competition. In that boys' competition, though, England finished in 9th position. The team was Ben Bolton, Seb Tesoro,
Oh, Ben.
And Daniel Hayes, who we mentioned a little bit earlier. So
I know Ben Bolton very well. I'm glad he's going well. Yeah.
Well, hold fire there. He might well get a mention in a few moments' time as well with another competition he took place in. So, European Girls Amateur Championship that took place over in Sweden, and the winners, the stroke play qualifiers, so the leading qualifying team was Spain through to the match play stage, and the winning team was England.
Yes.
So the team was Sadie Adams, Isla McDonald O'Brien, Charlotte Norton, Matilda Santilli, Chloe Tabard, and Amelia Wan. Now, if I tell you, Ian, the standard of the players who played in this competition, there's 48 players who played in this competition. And have a guess how many of those 48 had a handicap of +2 or better?
48 played in the tournament.
48.
I'm going to say 48.
That would be seriously good standard, but not far off actually. 44 of them with a
well,
+2.
that entire team you mentioned for England. Obviously, I know basically all of them from Faldo Series Grand Finals and things like that. So I'm not surprised. The standard is very high indeed. You know?
Absolutely, yes. Right, boys championship that took place in Austria, and England made it through to the final. They were playing against France, and the team was Ben Bolton, Sebastian de Souza, Daniel Hayes, Chris Kim, Oscar Lent, and Charlie Rusbridge, and we lost the final. France won that competition. All right, so let's talk about combined handicaps there. So those 6 English players, what is their combined handicap? This is frightening.
Okay, combined handicap, and there's 6 of them.
Yes.
It's obviously going to be low. So I'm going to give an average of handicap of 2. So 12.
So +12, you say, yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Close. +30.5.
Oh, wow. Okay.
That is combined.
Yeah.
So on average, +5.1.
Wow. I was actually, I've gone the other way now, haven't I? I've been too generous.
Yes, that's it. Yeah. France, by the way, of the top 10 players in that competition, had 5 of the lowest handicappers. So watch out for French golf in years to come. There could be some really, really good players coming through from France.
Can I just bring this back to the football as well, actually, Steve? Because there's a bit of a link here, isn't there, with the English women's side going on to win things and the men doing well but losing out in finals. So, go on, girls. Go on.
bit harsh on Ben, Sebastian, Daniel, Chris, and Oscar and Charlie.
Well, it's very harsh because actually, and I can tell you something, I bet they played a lot better than the England men's football team. So
yes, true, yes. Right, boys amateur. So that was the top division for the boys amateur. There was a second division as well, which took place in Poland, and Scotland finished. They were the top qualifiers from the match play, from the stroke play, but it was actually won by Belgium, surprisingly enough, which is a country which I wouldn't have expected to have that many very, very good young golfers. So perhaps that might be one as well to watch out for. And just finally, as far as the news is concerned, just one last one. Back in this country, though, talking about top quality golfers, Shires Junior Golf Tour, we mentioned it in the last podcast that we had an event at Seacroft in Skegness. It was a team event, and the prize was a coaching clinic with Charlie Hull. And the winning team was Yash Pankania, Amanda Ellis, and Edie Conley. So really, congratulations to those 3.
Congratulations, guys! Yeah,
and they did it in style as well. They needed to get 5 points. So out of it's best 2 from 3 on each hole. They need to get 5 points in the last hole. So basically, they needed to have a par and a birdie on the last hole to win it. Well, they didn't just do that. They had a gross birdie and a gross par on the last hole. So they won it by a couple of points. So well done to them. Right. But final question then, because I know you love this. Winning individual score then, what do you reckon it was then?
Stroke play, was it?
No, it was Stableford.
1 round.
1 round. Bearing in mind that I think of the 20 odd players 30 players who were playing in it, I don't think many of them had ever played links golf before. And I'll give you an example here. One of the tour organisers went and had a practice round the day before, and he reckons he lost 15 golf balls. That's how thick the rough was there.
Okay, so I'm going to be. What I think he actually is quite bold, because I've done quite a bit of Stableford recently. And yesterday, for example, the winner was Oliver Bradley, who was 3 under par, Stableford points to par. He got 39 points. So it's obviously going to be a little bit more, as you wouldn't be asking me. 42.
42. Very good guess. Niall Goodridge, 10-year-old Niall Goodridge, had 2 net eagles and 9 net birdies for 47 points.
Not
so
bad.
And bless him, he was such a lovely lad. He came up to me in the end and said, do I get the prize of the day with Charlie? Now the prize went to the team, but we're going to try and see whether we can get Niall along on that day.
Bring him along that day. Come on, bring him along. Charlie would love that, wouldn't she? She'd be all
absolutely
over that.
Yeah. And I also have to mention as well, I think Yash, who was part of the winning team, I think he's only 8 or 9 years old. So we've got some really good young golfers coming through with the Shire Junior Golf Tour. So congratulations to everyone who's taking part there. And I mentioned as well for Scott Chalmers, who lost 15 golf balls the day before. We hope we might be able to find some golf balls for you in the weeks and months ahead. But right, that wraps up the junior golf news then. Right, we're going to be talking about golf facilities now. Unless you have anything else to add in, anything you are getting up to in the next few days, weeks or so?
Yeah, actually, funny enough, I'm off to America I'm off to Spain tomorrow, actually, but that's for a family holiday. And in 2 weeks' time, it's the Disability Ryder Cup in Michigan, and I am emceeing the opening ceremony.
Wow.
So how nice is that? It's something like Cherry Creek Golf Club in Michigan. I can't remember exactly where, but a bit of a late call up, but delighted to be going over to do that. Very honoured as well. It's the Cairns Cup. I did the inaugural one 2 years ago at the Shires, and they've asked me back. And they want me to, because what they want, Steve, is they want a British accent, is what they want. So it's that's why they've asked me to go do it. So
you're going to put on your posh voice, are you?
I am. Yeah. Hello, everybody, and welcome. so keep your eyes peeled on that. You'll be able to see a lot of coverage. We've got a few dates actually booked in NBC over there, so it's going to be on NBC in America, so you can watch that, which would be great.
Fantastic. And we are going to be talking about golf facilities as well. Now, something which we don't actually mention, or we can mention obviously when we have a chat ourselves, Ian, but obviously disabled golf as well, getting the right facilities at golf clubs to be able to cope with that.
Even more so, absolutely.
Is important as well. But we're going to be generally talking about golf practice facilities and how we can get those right for junior golfers as well. As I mentioned, we're going to be looking at from this country and from an overseas point of view as well. So before we start, let's talk about Effingham Golf Club. Then it's a club which you've not been to, although you live fairly close to it. So I had a chat with Jack Higgins, who's the assistant club professional at Effingham, and he explains what the practice facilities were before they made the changes in recent weeks and months. This is what he had to say.
Literally just a small bit of mown green, 2 bunkers that weren't sort of maintained the way we wanted or needed, and didn't provide an array of shots or the space to cater for your golfers warming up and those wishing to practice and our lessons. So it's now obviously brilliant. We've got that big facility that obviously caters for, as you saw today, you can easily hold a group of 10 on one half. So you can get 20, 25 people on there at the same time. So it's awesome.
You've got things like bunkers there, and they're not easy bunkers as well. So it's a proper test for youngsters, isn't it?
Drop-offs, downhill lies, uphill lies, the whole array. And obviously, did you notice the different coloured systems that we have? So that's more.
Just explain that.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we've got within the big space, obviously facing away from the car park, which is the main thing. We have yellow stations to yellow pins, blue to blue, and white to white. Really, that's just to control where shots might be heading, try and obviously maintain the safety of using the facility. But then obviously it just helps guide everyone in the right direction. With the bunkers obviously being on the left side as we look out at it. That middle section obviously chipping up, so steep up slopes, flop shots, that kind of thing. And the far right is allowing for more normal chipping practice, but obviously that can vary across the board. When it's quite quiet, I've done some lessons where we can actually play that 70, 80, 90 yard pitch shot if no one else is on there, from the far right corner to the far left corner. And it's just been brilliant to be able to simulate what we would do out on the golf course. And it saves having to sort of wait till the evenings to have a lesson and go out and do that properly. We've got that facility there all day, every day.
And with juniors in mind, talking about that, the different types of shots you need to hit as well in a safe environment as well.
Exactly that. So I obviously, as the assistant pro, I take care of most of the junior program. And put it this way, the juniors didn't enjoy whenever I had a short game session because they knew it was going to be a very basic, very crowded area. they now really enjoy it, and they're learning that when we do our competitions, which are once a month, they're actually scoring a lot better because they've had the time to put in and practice that scoring element of the game, not just smashing balls down the driving range, which for the coaching sessions they enjoy more because it's more fun there and then. But when they're seeing their golf improve because of that short game facility, it lends itself to wanting to practice there more often. I think you enjoyed it yourself today. You could spend hours there. Like, you really could.
And also, the whole point of practice facilities is that it mirrors what you're going to face on the golf course as well, and it does now, doesn't it?
Exactly that. Exactly. There's literally not a shot you can't recreate within sort of, as I say, 80, 90 yards if it's a clear green, or there's not a 20-yard shot you can't recreate at any time. So it's really, really good for that reason.
And in your experience, should golf clubs be following this model? Because there are golf clubs out there which don't have these types of facilities. We should
this way, Effingham as a whole has a junior pathway, so there's junior beginners, the junior academy, and the full junior section. I wish I had something like that for me when I was that age. Instead, I ended up club hopping quite a lot, trying to find where was a good junior section where I could have competitive golf on a regular basis, and then the practice facilities. So ultimately, the short answer is yes, but then you've got to think there is a financial aspect to this, and there's an awful lot of planning that goes in by ourselves, the club, to make sure that this can all happen. So is it easy to emulate? Probably not. But as often as possible, yes, I'd suggest it's a model that could be followed and should be, but again, allowing for the different restraints.
So that's Jack Higgins, who's the assistant professional there at Effingham Golf Club there. You saw a few photos as well of the
practice
nice, facilities there. Yeah. Absolutely. And he mentioned there the fact that I did have a try on it beforehand. And yeah, it's challenging, shall we say. And also you saw some photos of the golf course there as well. It mirrors what you're going to play on the golf course there. To me there, with that interview, the answer which really struck me was the fact that when he said previously the juniors didn't enjoy going on the practice area. And that to me was, it kind of broke my heart when he said that. At the same time, I was thinking, well, thankfully, he doesn't have that now. But I'm sure there are golf clubs out there who have the same issues.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, it's a sad thing to hear, but we've had this conversation before. Everybody needs to get looked after at the golf club, don't they? And then we need to be mindful of the full paying members who have been there for how long, but then we also need to bring the next crop through as well. A lot of it can be quite daunting as well. I mean, on the Trilby Tour yesterday, for example, I'm talking to fully grown men, and some of them are single figure handicappers, and they get nervous on the first tee because there's a big balcony up at Springs, I sort of overlook, so you can see the first. And I mean, like most golf clubs do, they overlook the 18th coming back, don't they? And quite often you can see the first, and that must be quite daunting to take your first tee shot right there in front of a balcony full of people, and certainly if it's a sunny late afternoon and people have had one or two drinks as well. So I mean, that's an adult problem, of course, but yeah, I can imagine that might have a bit of an impact for some people.
Yeah. Right, let's hear from the person who helped design that then. Let's course designer James Edwards then. First of all, when I chatted with him, I just wanted to find out a bit of his background. Did he start out as a junior golfer? This is what he had to say.
I'm the quintessential tour pro. When I was young, I came through the Kent system, county golf all the way through. I was lucky enough to play at Tudor Park, Marriott Hotel, where they had some nice facilities, nice range. Great general manager, so the setup there was good. The junior system was one of the best in the county, and very centrally located, so we always had a nice influx of players. But yeah, so that was where I came from, was through Tudor Park. But yeah, some good memories of trying to work my way up through the handicap.
Obviously the facilities have changed a lot over the years. With junior golf in mind, what if you, I suppose if you were a golf club, what facilities would you try and have for junior golfers in particular?
Yeah, just the same facilities as any normal club, meaning the junior member shouldn't be discriminated. It should be exactly the same facility as the adult member. That's contentious in some golf clubs, but this is something I'm very passionate about. The offer has to be the same, and if you create the environment for the juniors obviously to prosper, not just from an etiquette perspective, but from a facility perspective, then we get the leaders of the next generation. But we've got to give them the same facilities and make them feel like they are just as part of that as the adults, which doesn't happen everywhere.
And how difficult is that at golf clubs which are a little bit more traditional, don't have the land for a start, in the sense that they little par 3 courses, those types of things, they don't have those opportunities.
No, and again, we associate the par 3 courses and stuff with juniors. It's just not true. This is what I think I'm trying to say, is the practice environment is the same for anybody. Whether you're an old person trying to get better, or you're a young junior who's trying to learn the game, or anyone trying to learn the game, the facilities should be correctly designed for all of them. Now, coming across, my background was in Kent. I won't mention the clubs, but I used to be a member at 4 or 5 different golf clubs trying to find the right facility for my needs. Now, I wanted to become a tour pro, as most people do when they pick up a club when they're young, and I could already see that the facilities weren't fit for purpose. So my parents and I just tried to find the right place that had all the facilities, and it was a struggle until Chart Hills come on the scene, which had the range, the short game academy, the putting green. All these other facilities have that type of facility, but they're not necessarily the first thought. They're almost afterthoughts at many of the traditional golf clubs. The modern golf clubs are starting to understand the importance of a practice environment that's right next door to the member journey. That's what we're trying to do. So whether it's a junior or whether it's an adult, we all want something immediately in front of us. We don't want to have to walk a mile away to hit some balls in a dark corridor of a woodland with your own golf balls.
So that's James Ebras then talking about his journey into golf and the kind of battles that he has trying to get golf clubs to have the right type of facilities there.
Yeah.
I'm going to be cruel to you here, Ian, but name some golf courses whereby you think they do get it right.
Okay.
And equally so, name some which don't.
I can tell you exactly.
You mentioned I'm going to be cruel to you. What about the Springs? Because it's a golf course whereby they've got a great golf course, but the practice facilities there aren't they?
Yeah.
Really, are they?
No, they're not really. I mean, there's a putting green, of course, to practice on beforehand. But other than that, I mean, they've got beautiful accommodation, by the way, at Springs. So it's a resort. And I think that's quite important to remember. It's the Springs Golf and Resort Country Club. So there's no range, which would be really nice to have. The course is in immaculate condition. But if you want to knock a few balls 200 yards in a range beforehand, you're not going to be able to do it. But there is a putting facility. So for the purist, for going along to a resort, it's brilliant. If you're wanting to take things really seriously, you need a proper warm-up. Perhaps it's not amazing. One of the best, though, and it's actually a bit of a surprise. It's a golf club called Worldham, and it's down near Alton in Hampshire. Now, you've probably never heard of it. It's tucked away a little bit of a hidden gem. And it's basically it's a glorified pay as you play. You can join as a member. It's dirt cheap if you want to join as a member, by the way. But you go in, you park up, then you walk to the clubhouse. You walk out of the side door of the clubhouse door, and there's the range. Then you've walked past the range. As you walk towards the first tee, there's a really nice practice putting green on the way. You stop there. Then you keep walking down the path. So nobody can see you from the clubhouse teeing off, by the way. So there's none of that dauntingness. You walk past, they now have paddle tennis facilities there as well, which is cool. I mean, I know it's nothing to do with golf, but it's cool. They're just looking for other ways of making income. And then you walk down to the first tee, and everything is just one path on the way to the first tee. So if you do want to go hit a few balls, it's the first thing you do on a range. Then you get to the putting green. Then you get to the first tee by following just this little path, and it's not far. It is set up. I don't know if they've done this on purpose. I'm sure they have. They're obviously very clever people, but they've set this up so everything that you could possibly need is exactly where it should be, and it's brilliant. I've got to say, it's Worldham Golf Club. I'm not paid by them, to be honest. I should be on their marketing team.
We'll send this podcast to them.
But most people expect to turn around and go, the Belfry, or Sunningdale, or Wentworth, or St Andrews. It's a club that probably nobody really talks about too much, and it's a really good one. Another good one, actually, is another bit of a hidden gem. It's up in Yorkshire. It's called Low Lace Golf Club, and again, it's sort of a reputation of a bit of an old school working men's golf club, but very, very similar, very friendly owners there who just get things right. Everything is close and everything is where you need it to be. The driving range is visible from the clubhouse, and then it's a short walk down to the first tee, but you've got a little bit of shelter, if you know what I mean. So 2 clubs I think really do get it right.
Okay, let's hear again from James Edwards there. You mentioned clubs in this country. We will be covering some clubs from overseas as well, and I'll mention the ones in the Czech Republic there. But a question I raised with James was, just a simple question, can golf clubs in this country learn from other countries?
Country, maybe in golfing terms, they have it, or they've got a better system in terms of the practice. They encourage practice better. Dubai, the UAE, being a more modern country, they have the golf clubs now being designed with the facilities in the right place. We clearly have the heritage, we have the age, but we have to reverse engineer most of our facilities into the environment that the golf club is, because you can take any one of the leading clubs in this county in Surrey, and you can see here that they are restrained on the area they can use for practice, because the historic 100 plus year old golf courses take up that main aspect from the clubhouse. What we're trying to do is say, look, if you can just give us that piece of land and maybe move a structure back, then we can create that environment for juniors and adults and everybody to enjoy. But you have to crack some eggs. You can't do that just by, in my opinion, you can't just do that by renovating what you've always had. Of course you can do that, but what we're trying to say is, why don't you put the facility where the engagement is going to be at its premium? The pros from the pro shop will be constantly on the facility teaching these kids of the future. Now, if you have to go to a dark corner of the course, you're not going to get the same engagement. It's just fact. Whereas what I'm trying to create, or what we're trying to create, is an environment where you can touch it.
Isn't it fascinating that he almost used exactly the same phrase that Jack used earlier, whereby he was saying that going to the practice facilities felt like a almost, they didn't want to go there, the kids. He used the phrase dark corner there, and that's something which is echoed not by just Jack but yourself and a lot of people out there, isn't it, or should be?
Yeah, it is. I will defend clubs a little bit here in the UK, because I think we've also got to remember, when you look at clubs in America, and I'm sure we'll touch on this a little bit later, there's not much space in the UK. So you have to renovate what you've got, because golf clubs are usually, most of them have already maximised the space that they've got. Do you know what I mean? Like, we talk about the Springs. I'm sure they'd love to have a driving range. But in order to have a driving range, what they might have to do is buy a field next door, and that might be unachievable. Do you know what I mean? And it might put them under pressure. So I think we just need to be wary. I mean, I know Chart Hills quite well. I think he's mentioned Chart Hills, didn't he? Huge facility down there. There's loads of space, gallons of space. So it's a lot easier to do that. And then for a lot of other clubs, perhaps it isn't quite so easy. So I do think we need to be mindful of there's different types of scenarios for each club. I mean, yes, where you put the club shop could have an impact. But for a lot of clubs, I think sometimes it's a case of, well, the only space we've got to put a practice green or a practice area is there. It's either there or we dig up the first tee, and I can't afford to do it. So I do think we just need to be a little bit more mindful, and perhaps it's a space issue, and maybe it's a people issue, actually, to be fair as well, because if people don't enjoy going to the practice area, it's not because the blade of grass is in the wrong way. It's normally because people are hanging around or they get frowned upon or whatever reason, or they feel under pressure. And that's probably from people rather than the fact that they've got to walk 30 seconds or a minute and a half to get there, We
are going to talk about another couple of clubs in the UK. Let's just hear finally from James then, talking about James Edwards, talking about how important it is that golf clubs look after the junior golfers and provide facilities for them to learn the game. This is what James had to say on that.
Really cheesy lines, but not everyone's a fan of Michael Jackson, but children are the future. It's true, that's a really bad line, but it's true. Everything is designed for them, because they are the people, they are the punters, they're the stakeholders that are going to pay into our system, as you said, in 15, 20 years time, when the parents are no longer paying the money. They're not going to join golf clubs, and we're already seeing it now, where it's a big piece for you to be discussing over the airways now. But I've been concerned about this, and many of my friends have seen me championing this for 15 years. I've been concerned about this for 15 years. Well, I don't think they're going to join golf clubs. So golf clubs have to become a different proposition. I think they have to start developing into more country clubs again, where there's more facilities that kids can be involved with, and parents of kids can come and can enjoy their kids being taught a sport in an open air environment, with a bit of health involved, where they have to walk 5 miles, keep themselves fit. They're not in front of a computer, albeit computer systems and stuff have to be part of modern clubhouses. To have a games room at a clubhouse, God forbid, is the most underrated thing I think of. That's why America does it well, jumping around, because they do now. They're starting to get that if you've got a creche at a golf club, it means that their kids can be involved in an activity whilst they go and have their game of golf. Now, that some people might say, well, that's a very elitist, selfish thing for a parent to do. Well, no, that's the country club nature, and that's what I believe. If all clubs in this country, instead of developing to build an extra 100, whatever seats at a restaurant, how about we develop it into an area where the kids can be entertained all day? Now, back in my day at Tudor Park, a country club, Marriott Country Club, my mum and dad used to hand me £10, and I could get my burger and chips at lunchtime. I'd play 36. We've all heard the players say this: play 36 holes, practice all day, play tennis, play squash, play table tennis. Then we might go in the gym. And this was me as a 12-year-old, 11, 12-year-old. And so that has built me into the man I am, because I had all these stakeholders, like Chris May, just to jump around. Chris May is now the man in charge of Dubai Golf. And now Chris May was my very first general manager at Tudor Park. And he used to tell me off for hitting balls off the green as a junior. Now my point is there's a man now who's gone from general manager at Tudor Park to now the most important role in the whole of the UAE. Why am I telling you that? Because he saw the light early doors, where he was like, no, facilities need to be better. And that's what we've got to do. We've got to understand that there's no difference between what a junior needs and what an adult needs. They're the same fun entertainment systems. They're the same fun facilities. Where we go wrong is that we still think there's there's the junior zone over there, and there's the adult zone over there. That's not the way we need to go. We need to bring it all together and allow everyone to flourish in it.
Go on then, Ian, I'll let you have your say on that then, because I know you have similar views to James on the country club mentality of how it should be incorporated more in golf clubs.
I certainly agree with what he's saying about country clubs. They've got the space, they've got the resource, they've got the time to be able to do these things. I totally get that. I think, you have to look at this from a business side of things as well. Putting a crash in is all good and well, but someone's got to be paid for it, and we had a little conversation before this podcast, didn't we? And we were sort of talking about golf, and I'm a big believer of taking the game forward and revolutionise it. This is why I'm a big fan of Live Golf. Still love the PGA Tour and all that, but I am a massive fan of Live Golf because they're trying to do something a little bit different. And I think golf is going the right way. I think it is turning. It really is turning and catching up with sort of more modern sports. Like cricket did with T20 all those years ago, and becoming better. And a lot of clubhouses I go to now, there's a real nice vibe and a nice feel to them. I don't go to many golf clubs now where you walk in and it's the old patterned carpets and wood paneling everywhere and daunting portrait pictures of a bloke from the 1800s with a golf club and stuff like that. There's not many of those around these days. I do come back to the whole space thing. I think that's an issue for a lot of golf clubs these days. I think a lot of clubs get it right, to be honest, though,
Actually, just on that point of space there, and it's something which I was going to mention, and we'll talk about this before we start talking about the Czech Republic and Latvia, because it's not quite so relevant for them. But I'll give you two examples: Wellingborough Golf Club and Peterborough Milton Golf Club, two clubs which have been mentioned on this podcast previously. We've had people from those golf clubs come on there talking about different subjects. Wellingborough Golf Club, they have very little space. They don't have a range. They have a practice field which is away from the golf club. But what they did was they created a little 3-hole stretch just for some kids to go and play at the back of the first hole. Yeah. And when I say little, I'm talking about 20, 30 yards whereby, and I took my lad when he was 7 years old there, just to first ever time to hit a golf ball, in the knowledge that he couldn't really hit it too far, so therefore it was perfect. Very similar piece of Milton. We had the junior organiser on, Charles Gunn, a few weeks ago, talking about how you develop a junior section of the golf club. What they did was they built some holes around their range, whereby they could give those opportunities for them to juniors to go and play, holes as if, they feel as if they're playing on a proper golf course, but at the same time they're not. They're in an environment whereby, no one is going to notice if they take a massive divot and whatever. Perfect environment for them to do it. And that's the way that you can do it when you don't have the space or the amount of money or a golf club which has the traditional types of things. So there are ways whereby you can do it in those restrictions that you're talking about.
Yeah, no, you're right, Steve. And Aaron Cox, a good friend of ours of the show, of course, up at Blackwell Grange in Darlington. Great example there. They've no sort of range. Well, they do have a range, but even next door to the range, they've got like 6 nets up that you can whack the ball hard at if you want. So you don't need actually 300 yards of space. You can if you need to. So they facilitate that. They do have a range actually as well. But what Aaron did up there, they had sort of about 120 yard stretch of dead space, shall we say, sort of shrubbery, etc., etc. And what Aaron did is managed to get a few diggers in. They cleared it, and now it's a junior golf area. So sort of 8-year-olds can, 6 to sort of 9-year-olds can play golf on a 100-yard stretch. So there's like 3 or 4 holes there that they can play, and it's really good. And it's really good. So yeah, I think we don't want golf to lose its identity completely. Do you know what I mean? I think a lot of clubs do get things right. We also need to take golf seriously as well. What we don't want to do is end up turning them into top golf venues with a golf course as well, because then I think it starts to get a little bit gimmicky, a little bit silly almost, shall we say. I mean, a lot of golf clubs do have fun on their ranges, don't they, and things like that. I think, look, for juniors, it's always going to be difficult because at the end of the day, it's the junior membership that doesn't really pay the bills at the end of the day. And a golf club has got to have a balance sheet that sees profit if we want them to stay there and continue. Like it or not, that comes from the adult paying peak member payers, doesn't it? There is a way to maybe monetize secondary income, and that's true. And don't get me wrong, I'm not saying junior golfers aren't important. They are critical for the longer term. But for the time that they're a junior, financially, they contribute quite little to the club, realistically. That could change if you get the parents involved and the parents become members. And I think that's where you need to facilitate it and actually say to the parents, look, stay. This is a nice place to be. We've got facilities for you. We've got facilities for your kids. Not so sure a creche is the right way to go, to be brutally honest, but that's more resort golf. And I think that's certainly what James was talking about. And I think he's right. Resort golf is a completely different kettle of fish. Resort golf tends to be, Darwin Escapes. So Springs is owned by Darwin Escapes. They also own Dundonald Links, and they also own Killick Percy. They also own about 40 other luxurious accommodation sites across the UK. So they're not in any danger of going bust. And if one club has a bad year, well, it's propped up by the others. And if all 3 have a bad year, well, they're propped up by the accommodation side of the business. So they've got resource. I'm talking more about the odd, more smaller independent clubs that rely on membership income to survive,
Okay, right. Let's move on then. Let's talk about overseas golf then. I mentioned earlier about the fact that I went to Moravia over in the Czech Republic. I'll just read out. I wrote an article for Bunkered Golf magazine. I'll just read out my opening line. And obviously, when I wrote this, I had no idea it was going to be used in a junior podcast, but it's just so relevant for what we're talking about here. My opening line was, the phrase, "If only my golf club was like this," could be on the lips of every visitor to Moravia, because there's no doubt that those involved in golf throughout this part of the Czech Republic know what golfers want. And that's exactly how I felt when I got there, is the fact that I was turned up at the golf courses which had 18-hole golf courses, sometimes 27-hole golf courses. They had 6-hole academy golf courses. They had accommodation. They had wellness. Some of them had, facilities, restaurants. Well, in fact, all of them had restaurants. They pretty much all had everything you think you would want at a golf club. Exactly your point earlier, Ian, in the sense that these tended to be new golf clubs. It was a new venue. It was a new country trying to get into golf. But it made me think, I wish my club back at home was like that as well. So that was the Czech Republic. And I'll name check the golf clubs, by the way, the ones that I went to, because I think they deserve it because they looked after me and they did such a good job of what they're doing. Kaskada, Austerlitz, Ostravise, Kaledno, which is now called Prosper Golf Resort, and Rapise, which is up near the Polish border. So well done to those golf clubs.
Can I just say on that, Steve? I know we're going to hear very shortly from. So can I just say, I reckon if you went to 90% of golf clubs in England that have been around for more than 40 years, I think if you could build this entire facility again from scratch with what you've got here, with the space that you've got, would you do it the same? And they'd say no, we would do it this, we'd do it that. And so I think it's very easy if you're a developing country in golf like Latvia or Czech Republic, when you've got a big block of land and you start from scratch and you're designing something from scratch, you are going to obviously take advice from what works in other countries and look at other clubs. Whereas I think a lot of the case in England, because golf has been around for so long in England, Scotland and Wales, a lot of the golf clubs that we visit, a lot of the golf clubs that we've got here in the UK, they've been there for 100 years, maybe even longer. So you can't just knock them down and start again unless you've got massively deep pockets. And I think that is, they're at an advantage, these countries now that are starting to get into golf and are able to build these facilities because they've got a better blueprint of how to do it from not our mistakes, but from looking at what we've had over here and in other countries and think, right, now we can make the perfect golf facility because we've got a blueprint for what works and what doesn't from looking at what other countries do.
They may even have looked at the Czech Republic as well, Latvia, right. Now, I've got to admit, I arrived in Latvia with no expectations of what I was going to see kind of thing. But I have to say, I was impressed. And I was impressed with the first person I bumped into it. And this was the person I met at Lamana Golf Club in Latvia. Let him introduce himself and explain what he's all about.
I'm the head pro in Jurmo Golf Club here in Pinki, Latvia. I've been teaching golf now this is my 14th year. Back in around 2009, 2010, I studied in California. Acquired a degree in professional golf management, Professional Golfers Career College. I studied there for 2 years, and then I came back and brought my knowledge and started working in Latvia with all types of players. A lot with juniors, but also adults and high-level players. And along the road, I also studied a lot, attended a lot of seminars, gathered with some really best coaches in the world. Canada, Finland, UK, everywhere I have some good contacts, some good coaches that I kind of learned the game from and learned the science of teaching from. And now I feel like I'm just implementing all of that here. That's the quickly kind of the path I've been taking.
So tell me about Latvia golf, because there'll be people who are watching this who won't know there's any golf in Latvia.
Well, it's still very small. We have like really full 18-horse courses. We only have 2. Then we have a couple 9-holers that are still okay. And then in the countryside we have some even smaller ones, like we call them meadow courses. It's still quite small, but there's more and more people starting to play. But it's not like booming. The COVID year was like there was a boom, like a little boom for Latvia, because there's nothing else people could do, but they could play golf outside. So it kind of boomed a little bit, but and juniors, I mean, I don't know the exact numbers, but we have, I think in Latvia, I would say around 2,000 golfers maybe now, somewhere there, and juniors we probably have, I would say, between 200 and 300, playing golf, and practicing and training. We are fortunate. We have some. We've had some high-level players, like not maybe PGA Tour or LPGA Tour, but girls that have gone on to college, NCAA Division I. We've had, I think, maybe 7 or 8 girls in our short kind of golf history. By the way, golf in Latvia started, like the first golf course opened I think in '99, so it's a very short history. And yeah, like I said, we've advanced some girls. Me personally, I think I've advanced like 5 girls to NCAA Division 1 from childhood. Basically, raised them to where they went and had scholarship in the United States. So that's kind of where we are, and still trying to get more people into golf, doing things so people start playing more, kids start playing more, and yeah. But obviously, with a little bit limited amount of golf courses, it's a little bit tough because the society builds around the golf course, you know. So the golfers build, around the golf course.
And the fascinating thing which surprised me then when he mentioned about the amount of junior golfers they have in Latvia, when he said, probably about 2,000 golfers in total, and probably about 200, 300 of them are junior golfers. And I was thinking to myself, I just had a quick look on Google now. Exactly. I was just thinking, what's the percentage in this country? And I bet you it's nowhere near 10, 15% of the golfers are junior golfers, probably close to 5%.
No, you're absolutely spot on. I think then again, it's a different kettle of fish, isn't it? We're sort of, if they've only got a few golf clubs. I mean, Aaron's probably got 300 junior golfers at Blackwell Grange himself, and that's one golf club. So I think the number of people who play golf in the British Isles is obviously far higher. I'm actually surprised at how few it is in Latvia. They really have got an opportunity, haven't they, to grow the game over there. And of course, the other sports have an impact as well, don't they? Like golf isn't really in schools over here, is it? Do you know what I mean? I know sometimes it is, but it's basically football. That's what they do, isn't it? Like my son's 8, and they've been doing a bit of basketball and they do other stuff, but the go-to sport is always football, isn't it?
Actually, funny enough, when I was out there and I was talking to a junior there, and I was saying, "What's your sport?" and he said basketball to me in Latvia. So I think it might all be the sport there. Anyway,
basketball's huge in Latvia,
yeah. Let's hear from David again. Then he's talking about the simple question I asked him. Just explain what Jumala Golf Club there's in Latvia. What have they got there? This is what he had to say about it.
Jack Nicklaus design golf course, 18 holes championship course, which is pretty tough. Incredible shape, incredible greens, incredible fairways, incredible bunkers. Like the Jack Nicklaus signature is the little the bigger bunkers, fairway bunkers, and then a par 3 course, 9-hole course is just absolutely amazing. It's pretty short, but it has the greens are undulated, like slopey and deep bunkers, and what's unique is that the par 3 course is basically kept in the exact shape as the championship course, which typically par 3 courses can kind of get a little bit worse quality than the championship course. I think our par 3 course was nominated as one of the best par 3 courses in Europe a few years back. And plus we have incredible, I think, driving range, rooftop. Even in the winter we have the heaters. People can still hit balls at around 0 or little minus degrees. We have a couple nice chipping greens where you can practice basically all the way up to 60 meters, 70 meters. Nice putting green. And hotel, like the whole facility the infrastructure is great. It's perfect, yeah. And it's great for junior golfers to practice here because the greens are how they should be. They're pretty fast. Because historically in Latvia, because we have limited courses, we have very simple greens, like flat greens, and then our juniors or our higher level players, they go play internationally, and then they get these big slopes and fast greens, and they are lost. Yeah, but here, yeah, it's a perfect place to develop your game.
So that's Jumala Golf Club there. David is explaining there about what it's all about. I did play the 18-hole golf course. I also played the par 3 course as well. I also have to add as well, it's about 10 miles or 10 minutes away from the airport as well. So if you fancy going out to Latvia, I would recommend you go and take in this golf course. Go and see Riga, the city, beautiful city, and then go and have a round of golf at Jumala because it's a great destination there. What did you make of what he had to say then about the kind of facilities that they have there, though?
Yeah, I think they're very, very. It sounds like a nice golf course to play. Actually, quite flat, so that would suit me.
Plenty of water, as you saw with the photos.
Yeah. Although actually, when I played a couple of weeks ago at Weldon, funny enough, a bit of a supporter of it there. I didn't lose a ball at all. I started with the same ball, ended with it, so I'm not letting that ball go. But no, I mean, look, they've got a blueprint, but what they've got to do is grow the sport of golf in Latvia. So actually, they almost don't need to go crazy yet. Just get people involved, get people hitting balls, and go from there. And Davis certainly seems pretty switched on, doesn't he?
Right, let's have a chat about the par 3 course now, or the academy course, as they like to call it. Like I mentioned there, I played it, and as I said to David, it's not an easy golf course to play as well. I think the longest hole's 150 yards, but it wasn't easy. This is what he had to say about that.
Proper test for your iron game. Like academy course is perfect. Our academy course is perfect for beginners start there. It's perfect for them. Kids can start there. And even experienced players can go and practice their approach shots, like their iron game and short game and chipping and putting and bunker play. Yeah? So it's great for all levels of players. Yeah? And yes, like you said, there's a little bit tougher holes, a little bit easier holes, but it's a good test. Yeah, like I said, for your approach game, chipping and putting and bunkers. Yeah, sure.
The bunkers as well. I mean, you mentioned the main golf course has got typical Jack Nicklaus bunkers. They're not small, even on the par 3 course.
They're not small. They're pretty deep, yeah. And you have to be quite good and open the club face and get them up, yeah, for sure.
So with that in mind, with juniors, is that something whereby it's a perfect opportunity for you to teach them how to play bunker shots, that type of thing? Or they're a bit too tough at that stage?
Depends on the age. We have junior academy and different ages, different levels. Like, for example, I have a great group of 8 to 10 year olds who are quite advanced, they're quite good, but even they get in those bunkers on the academy course, it's just so hard. Like, it's almost too hard. Because you need to have, they don't even see the flag. Yeah? They're so short, and it's quite difficult to get it so high up and for them, yeah. And so sometimes when we have we have junior tournaments, when they get in those bunkers, the hole is finished. They don't get out for a while. But we try to practice it, but it's still difficult for that age. More like 13, 15 year olds, it's easy if they have the technique, and so it's no problem.
I mean, you saw the photos I took there, Ian, of the golf course there. I mean, sometimes with photos it's difficult to emphasise, but there was one photo there whereby the green was like this. You know, yeah. And I'm just thinking, I mean, he mentioned earlier about the main golf course not having too many sloping greens. The par 3 course did.
I hate bunkers as well. I hate them. You know, but yeah, it looks pretty.
And
well.
Also, a lot of those photos I took then, you might think, well, you know, you've manufactured those photos. I said you've stood in the right. No, that's the tee shot for a lot of those photos. So clearing water, you know. So it's a proper challenge. It's you know, going back to what James was talking about earlier, you know, it's not just for kids. These par 3 courses, these academy golf courses. It's there for, you know, proper adults, members, beginners to learn how to play the game. You know, 150 yards is the longest hole, so it's not too difficult. But at the same time, you could quite easily get into lots of trouble. I don't think I had a single par as I was going around there, and so same as yourself, I didn't lose a ball.
Yeah.
Because I didn't hit a single green.
Yeah, I don't like sand, so I'd love to give it a go though. Because you say the longest one's 150 yards, you're like, well, there you go. I'll just get my pitching wedge out and just go around here.
Right, just finally then, let's hear from Davis then first. Finally then, just talking about junior golf in Latvia then, how is that developing then? As we mentioned earlier, they got the Faudo Series event there, so a big event whereby lots of players from around Europe basically are coming on to play, and that was the main reason why I was there. Let's hear what he had to say then about junior golf in Latvia.
Always in Latvia, the girls golf has been at a higher level for some reason, and the reason is actually very simple, because there's been success from already early when we started golf. The girls kind of developed, and they were the first to get to United States for scholarships. And always the next girls growing up, they saw this kind of icon. Okay, I can get to US, I can study for free, parents are very interested. And then they have that path, and they just keep going, the younger girls, and then again the younger girls. With boys, we just haven't had that success. Of course, obviously, the level of golf required to play in America in NCAA is higher for boys, so it's harder. But we've had some boys, but it just kind of never clicked, and they never. Now, actually, to be honest, now this September is going to be the first boy from Latvia to go to NCAA Division II on a scholarship. First boy, and and then getting to our junior academy here in Jurmala. I started. This is my third season doing it seriously, full time. We have 5 groups of kids: tryout group, birdie group, cats group, lynxes, and the tigers. It's all depending on age and level. Obviously, tryout are people where they try. Birdies are super young ones, like 5, 6, 7-year-olds, and then cat group is like 8, 9, 10. Lynxes is like 11 to 14, and tigers are like from 14 to 18, like more sort of elite players or who are trying to be elite players. And our junior academy, it's only the 3rd year, but our kids are one of the best. There's now a strong Latvian junior golf tour also. It's like the 3rd season, like it's very well organized, and our kids are basically in U10 like top players, and even in U18 some of our juniors are already in the Latvian national junior team. So we've had a rapid progress. We started only 3 years ago. Before there was basically nothing. There was just a few kids here. Now we have, like, I would say, full-time practicing, like 40 kids, and last year probably who attended at least once in our records was like 80 to 100 who at least tried, but like full-time who are serious, like 40. So that's...
Just finally then, you've obviously held the Faudo Series event and have done, I think, for the last 2 or 3 years here,
Yes,
is that correct?
yes.
How important is that? Because obviously having a big name like Sir Nick Faldo involved and having some of the best players, not just from Latvia, from other countries as well, coming to play your golf course and play in your event. How important is that for junior golf in this country?
It's very important. It's very important because also since golf in Latvia is still so small, our juniors have very limited opportunities to play higher level tournaments, and in order to do it, they have to go outside of Latvia, and that's always costly. And you have to travel, and it's more expensive. So to have something here, an extra 3-day tournament, is amazing for them. Where some players from neighboring countries come over, the best players, and play, and they can compete and develop their game. It's amazing, and obviously having Nick Faldo's name associated with our club and this tournament is amazing. It's obviously Nick Faldo, 6-time major champion.
So that's Davis Puskas talking about the Faldo Series and also the pathway. And I think that's the key point, isn't it? What we're trying to get at with this podcast. We're talking about golf facilities here, but the key thing is the fact that if you build the right facilities, or if you develop the facilities that you've got, then you'll be able to get better players, more players playing the game, get them learning the right skills, and they will get better. And that will increase your membership. That will then mean you have more money. That will mean you'll be able to develop more. Means you get better players. Means that, and we're talking about Latvia there, but that can happen in any single country. It can happen in one particular club. It can happen in the county. It can happen. That's the key point here. It's what we're trying to say is by getting more appropriate facilities at a particular golf club, it will benefit everyone, won't it, Ian?
100%. Yeah. I mean, it's as I said before, if you're in a country that's developing into golf, you've got a huge advantage because you've got a blueprint that's mapped out for you that wasn't there 100 years ago. So, however, if you are a golf club and you just look at your facilities and just see what you can do, even if there's just small changes that you can make, it might make a difference. Go for it, do it, think about it, look at your income and look at secondary income as well. I think a lot of clubs don't look at that. They just look at what's the direct debit income coming in from membership sales or whatever. And actually, I think secondary income is a big thing that is missed out on. So take advantage of, even stuff like if you've got a big day coming up and put an extra member of staff on. There's nothing worse than waiting at the bar, is there, for half an hour to get a drink? It's a pain. I've done it before at a few golf clubs where I've played with like my old man and his mate, and we finish up, we get into the clubhouse, and there's a queue for the bar. So do you know what we do? we leave and we find a pub on the way home. Do you know what I mean? It's like worst thing you could do, isn't it? It's like sacrilege, you know. But there you go.
Right, now we've obviously got some podcasts coming up. I was just thinking, actually, just before you went down the route of trying to get loads of beers at golf clubs and all that, I was just thinking about when you were talking about trying to improve the facilities and all that. One of the podcasts which we've been looking to do is one on sponsorship and things like that. And this thing that we've been talking about here about improving your practice facilities and things like that, this is somewhere whereby you could probably get sponsors or get funding in to help you do that, you see. So that's something which will no doubt crop up when we do.
I'll tell you who we need to get on for that episode is the guy who runs Dunstanburgh Castle Golf Club. Because we had it Faldo, and what he basically did is he got a sponsor for each and every hole, and he made about 18 grand. You know, brilliant.
There's method in the madness. It you know, if you create the opportunities and work hard, you get the money back, kind of thing. Anyway, that's just one podcast we're going to be talking about. I think we're going to be doing another one. We promised it for a little while, but we're going to get round to doing that one of the rules quiz because we really enjoyed doing it last year, and it is quite good fun.
It's good fun.
Just to get those kids having a bit of a competition between themselves and also us adults as well, because there was plenty of those questions I didn't know the answer to as well. So. Like I mentioned as well, we've got the Champion of Champions, which I'm going to next week over in Ireland. We're going to be doing a full podcast on that. So that's going to be really interesting to see. And we're going to be talking about countries from around the world, not just in Europe, around the world, and how they cope and things like that. So that's going to be fascinating to talk to some of the people out there as well. And I'm sure we're going to get some other podcasts. I think we're going to do one hopefully on junior golf clothing, perhaps do one on... we did mention about possibly on cheating as well, which has cropped up in a few competitions that I've covered. And that doesn't necessarily mean that kids are cheating. It just means that the perception can be. And there are ways whereby we can give advice about how to avoid those types of scenarios. And that will come part of the rules quiz one as well, just to avoid that scenario. Right, that wraps up the podcast this evening. We've been talking about golfing facilities there. I hope you've enjoyed the podcast. As he mentioned earlier, if you do want to get in touch with us, please do so. But thanks very much for watching, and we will see you soon.
Bye, everybody. Bye-bye.